last case tonight, or our last segment tonight, criminal mindset. This is well named for this segment because it is crazy what is unfolding right now in court documents and what this suspect reportedly told police in this situation, this case that is unfolding out of Mesa, Arizona here. So I'm going to take you just through a little bit of the details here, and then we're going to bring in Sarah Robinson live. 22-year-old Lowell Tucker Dorn, who appears to go by Tucker in court, he is in custody now for 3 counts of attempted second-degree murder and burglary. Why? Because this man admitted to police that he went into a Mesa apartment that was unlocked and stabbed a mom and her 2 teen daughters. He did not know them. This was completely random, and that is so unheard of these days. We almost never hear of this being a random crime like this, so much so that police even thought like maybe the mom and the daughters had some sort of connection to him. Maybe there was something on social media. No, nothing. They were sleeping, and the details that have come out in this case today are very alarming, but also kind of heroic for this family. The mom and the 2 daughters allegedly fought back so much that's the only reason that all 3 of them are alive tonight with non-life-threatening injuries. But Dorn was allegedly able to stab all 3 of them. At one point, somebody hit him with a hammer trying to find anything that they could. They were able to wield the knife out of his hand, but that's when he grabbed an Xbox and hit one of them in the face. All 3 of them were stabbed. One of them was able to escape and ran about a mile, which I don't even know how she did this, ran about a mile to go get help and then call 911. That's when Dorn fled the scene, and all 3 of them were taken to the hospital. Dorn was not in custody right away. There was a search for him. And when they finally did catch up with him and did get him in custody, here's what he told police. He told them that he is bipolar, he has borderline personality disorder, hasn't been taking his meds for months, and that he used PCP, which probably contributed to his assault. He told police that he randomly was trying to break into unlocked doors and admitted that he had had thoughts of harming others, had never carried them out before this, and that he had the intention of killing them in their home that night. A terrifying case. This is just absolutely crazy for this community. And he also, in the court documents, is noted as being transient. So he is homeless in the area. And so you're seeing video here, drone video of the area, the apartment complex where this happened in Mesa. I want to bring in our Arizona's Family reporter, Sarah Robinson, in live. She has been the reporter working on this case. Sarah, you were out in Mesa all day today. Kind of bring me through just the start of this yesterday. I know we knew that this mom and the daughters were stabbed. We did not know all the details that we got today. Where has the investigation led, and what were you able to find out more about today?
Well, I think you said it really well right off the bat that this almost never happens, right? Like usually when there is a stabbing or a violent crime of this nature, 9 times out of 10, that person will have known them in some capacity or was maybe planning to do this or something led to it. Not the case here. So initially we were told that they didn't know the man. The victims didn't know this guy at all. And then kind of off the record, which eventually they did admit that they thought it was possible that they knew him, but because of the time of the attack at 4:30 in the morning and the fact that they were sleeping, it was dark and they didn't get to actually see him. So they thought that maybe, yeah, they did know him. When they re-interviewed those victims at the hospital, they learned, oh gosh, yeah, this is truly random. Nobody knows him or anything about him. So I did get the chance to ask police today because something that really caught my attention is they were very quick to say that they did not believe that there was a threat to the public, which if there's not a threat to the public, that usually means that they do know him. But then they also were saying that they don't know him. So I asked about that today because when they found him, it was from another 911 call on the Mesa Tempe border. Which is a little bit away from where this happened. And someone called in to report that he was, again, checking door handles. So not sure if he planned to carry out another attack, but it is clear that maybe there was a really big threat to the community. So I was able to ask about that today to the police, and an officer told me, yeah, you make a good point there. So they also are going to rethink, it seems, how they convey the message to the public early on in an investigation.
Yeah. Do we know how long that time frame was between the actual attack itself and then when they did put him in handcuffs?
I'm not sure. That is another thing that we really wanted to get those details on, is like how long were people actually really potentially in danger. Now, we do know that he left that knife in the apartment. He did not get out of the apartment with it. So it's unclear if
Okay.
he was armed. But again, he mentioned admittedly to police that he wanted to hurt and kill people, which is
Yeah.
really alarming.
I was going to say, what do you make of his comments, especially the ones where he basically gives them a laundry list of his mental health, uh, you know, medications and ailments and what he struggles with, and then is like, but I've had these thoughts for a long time. I mean, what did you make of that information? It was so forthcoming, but also rather odd.
Yeah, definitely rather odd. I mean, for the community, it's good that he was honest because now police have more evidence to potentially get him behind bars. But it is really interesting. I mean, this is not something that typically happens where someone just flat out admits um, being prompted straight away. What was brought to my attention from residents that live there is, this is someone that was not on their radar. This person, Tucker Dorn, did not have any sort of violent criminal history. So police had contact with him or had contact with him in the past because, as you mentioned, he was a transient person and he told them that. So they knew kind of who he was, but and it didn't seem that anybody thought that he was capable of this. So people who live in that apartment complex are really concerned because police did mention that the door was unlocked or it maybe didn't lock. And that is something that people said there, that there's security concerns and potentially maintenance issues. I was there today and the security gate does not close. We were there for a really long time yesterday. It was open all day. Granted, there was an active investigation, so maybe they had it open. But when I talked to residents, they said, yeah, no, it's always open. It's supposed to close and it doesn't. And they've had other security issues there.
Gosh, and that would make a huge difference too in this case as well. One thing if you willingly leave your door unlocked, another thing if you can't lock it because it doesn't lock. You have to think that the apartment complex is going to end up looking at that. Are the people there like freaked out about other people doing something like this? I mean, it is rare that we see something to this degree, but also alarming if he was transient and maybe knew other transient people who lived in the area. Hard to think, like, could they have, talked about this, and would other people have that kind of ideology?
That's a great question. So I luckily stumbled upon the girl who lives right across from where this happened. And thankfully, she wasn't there at the time. But when I told her it was random, she was completely shocked. She was like, oh my goodness, thank God I wasn't there. I don't know what I would have done if he had tried to do this to me. But she accidentally saw the crime scene because she lived right across it. And they had opened a door trying to bring some forensic evidence out, and she saw the blood, and she described it as the most gruesome thing she has ever seen. And so they're all really freaked out. Could this happen again, or will this happen again if security issues aren't addressed? And I should also note that this happened near Broadway and Dobson in Mesa. Police did tell me today that that area is pretty high crime for them. So that young woman that I spoke to does plan to move to a better location solely because of this incident.
Yeah, and we're seeing a comment here. It seems so rare that it's a stranger. I mean, that's a great point here. There's another big case in Arizona out of Scottsdale where a woman was killed by a alleged stranger as well. That's about to go to trial in a few months, but that also happened back in 2015, and that's how rare it is. We don't see this all the time. There's almost always something, or like it's there's nefarious activity that's going on, and if people come together, even if they're strangers, there was something that went wrong, and they put themselves in that situation. That is just not the case here. I had some people ask me about a possible insanity defense here. He said he was off his meds. He said he had borderline personality disorder, has bipolar disorder, was on PCP at the time. Like, would that be an insanity defense or not? And my immediate reaction is no, this would not be insanity. And here's why. Drugs, typically, I mean, people will do them, but that doesn't constitute an insanity defense. And bipolar and borderline personality disorder, we see suspects that have that all the time. And defense will definitely use that as a mitigating factor for mental health, but that is never used to prove insanity. They must prove that they did not know what they did at the time was wrong. And in his statement to police, I believe he is definitely saying he knows right from wrong. He's saying, I've had this intent to kill people. And harm people. I've never done it until now, but I had the intention to kill them because I was on the PCP. That's probably why I carried this out. I mean, to me, that is an admission of knowing that what he did was wrong. And I don't think that any sort of insanity would hold up in court. But Sarah, I mean, you actually have quite an extensive knowledge on psychology. It's something you enjoy looking at and researching, and you've reported a lot on it as well. What do you make of the fact that he willingly told police that he's bipolar and has borderline personality disorder? And that is also, those are two things, especially the personality disorder, that we see in a lot of killers or suspected killers.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point that it could be a mitigating factor, but something that really doubles down on the fact that I do not think insanity is on the table here at all is that he knew he had these diagnoses, right? There's 4 of them. Yet he also admitted that he hadn't been taking his medication for the past 4 months. So with bipolar, people can swing one way or the other. They can go towards mania, which is psychosis most often. And that's where you see religious delusions or paranoid ideation, where people think that the government is after them. It could also swing in the other direction towards depression. And usually at that point, people are a lot less able to carry on with their day-to-day functions. BPD is interesting because it's a personality disorder, but it typically does not mean that somebody loses contact with reality, which means that the reality testing is very much still intact. They know what they're doing and typically why they're doing it. Sometimes they can't control their anger as much, but they still know right from wrong and what's real and what isn't real. So, if he had these diagnoses and he was prescribed medication, which bipolar is actually very highly treatable, even if you have psychosis, it's still very highly treatable. If you go off your medication, though, willingly, that is then your responsibility to manage your illness, especially if you know about it and you have flipped from one way to the other in the past. So, I think it's possible that he was in some sort of episode. Of course, PCP can induce psychosis as well, but if he willingly took that, then insanity is not on the table. And he admitted that he had these urges to hurt and kill people. He just hadn't acted on them previously. So to me, it sounds like all of his reality testing was still intact. And it does not, to me, sound at all like insanity is on the table.
For all that analysis too. I mean, I know you're passionate about psychology, and that's why I like to ask you about it, because you study this, you do a lot of research even on your own time. So I think it's good for people to kind of understand what goes into those different personality disorders and how that can actually play a part when it becomes a legal factor versus not. And in this case too, something that's going to be unique, and thank God for this, all 3 of them survived. So this could have been so much worse. We could have had 3 dead women. And so when it comes to trial, you are going to have the state, of course, their star witnesses are going to be all 3 of these victims who thankfully will be alive to testify in this case. So we'll definitely see how this plays out. Sarah, thank you so much for coming on live. Great work. We appreciate all the reporting and all the insight you've given us. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for watching the show tonight. We'll have a big show again next week. I appreciate your questions, comments. Make sure to go follow True Crime AZ live on Instagram and TikTok. Follow me on YouTube. We'll be posting different clips from this, and I love interacting with you guys, even after the fact too. I love interacting with you guys live in the show, but I also like talking to people on social media who want to comment on these cases after. Appreciate everything. We'll be back next week. Everybody have a great rest of your week, and thanks for watching True Crime AZ live. Good night.